Edgar Allan Poe by Simone Smith. Edgar Allan Poe was an American author, poet, editor, and literary critic. Poe was one of the earliest American practitioners of the short story and is widely acknowledged as the inventor of the modern detective fiction genre. He was the first well-known American writer to try to earn a living through writing alone, resulting in a financially difficult life and career. Poe was born to traveling actors in Boston on January 19, 1809. Edgar was the second child of 3 children. His older brother, William Henry Leonard Poe, would also become a poet before his early death. Poe's sister, Rosalie Poe, would grow up to teach penmanship at a Richmond girls' school. Within 3 years of Poe's birth, both of his parents had died, and he was taken in by John Allan and his wife, Frances Valentine Allan, in Richmond, Virginia, while Poe's sibling went to live with other families. Early poetic verses found written in a young Poe's handwriting on the backs of Allan's ledger sheet reveal how little interest Poe had in the tobacco business. By the age of 13, Poe had compiled enough poetry to publish a book, but his headmaster advised Allan against allowing this. In 1826, Poe left Richmond to attend the University of Virginia, where he excelled in his classes while accumulating a considerable debt. By the end of his first term, Poe was so desperately poor. Humiliated by his poverty and furious with Allan for not providing enough funds, Poe returned to Richmond and visited the home of his fiancée, Elmire Royster, only to discover that she had become engaged to another man in Poe's absence. Poe finally stormed out of home to become a great poet and to find adventure. In 1827, he published his first book, Tamerlane and Other Poems, by the age of 18, and to achieve the second goal, he enlisted in the United States Army. Before going to West Point, he published a second collection, Al-Araf, Tamerlane, and Minor Poems in 1829. Poe excelled at his studies at West Point, but he was kicked out after a year for his poor handling of his duties. After leaving the academy, Poe focused his writing full-time. From 1831 to 1835, he stayed in Baltimore with his aunt and her daughter, Virginia. His young cousin, Virginia, became a literary inspiration to Poe, as well as his love interest. The couple married in 1836, when she was only 13 years old. In late 1830s, Poe published Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque, a collection of stories. It contains several of his most spine-tingling tales, including The Fall of the House of Usher, Ligeia, and William Wilson. Poe became a literary sensation in 1845 with the publication of the poem The Raven. It is considered a great American literary work and one of the best of Poe's career. In the work, Poe explored some of his common themes, death and loss. An unknown narrator laments the demise of his great love, Lenore. Continuing work in different forms, Poe examined his own methodology in writing in general and several essays, including the philosophy of composition, the poetic principle, and the rationale of verse. He also produced another thrilling tale, The Cask of Amontillado, and poems such as Eula Lume and The Bells. Poe's best-known fiction works are Gothic, a genre he followed to appease the public taste. His most recurring themes deal with questions of death, including its physical signs, the effects of decomposition, concerns of premature burial, the reanimation of the dead, and mourning. Many of his works are generally considered part of the dark romanticism genre. Poe was overcome by grief after the death of his beloved Virginia in 1847. While he continued to work, he suffered from poor health and struggled financially. On October 3, 1849, Poe was found in Baltimore in great distress. He was taken to Washington College Hospital, where he later died on October 7th. Some sources say Poe's final words were, "Lord, help my poor soul." At the time, it was said that Poe died of congestion of the brain, but his actual cause of death has been the subject of endless speculation. While he never had financial success in his lifetime, Poe has become one of America's most enduring writers. His works are as compelling today as they were more than a century ago. A bright, imaginative thinker, Poe crafted stories and poems that still shock, surprise, and move modern readers.